Toriko. Yeah. Alright, okay. Let me This is one hell of a chapter. This is one hell of a chapter. But let me get the one negative out of the way. The one negative. In my personal opinion. And that one negative is, simply put, I was expecting more. You feel me? I was anticipating more when it came to after the flashback. The flashback within a flashback. I was hoping that Midora and Ichiryuu would have continued to fight for a period of, let's say, 3 or 4 more chapters before Ichiryuu died. And we all knew that he was going to die, because that was very obvious. We all knew, because we saw the end result. We knew the end result before it had occurred. So we knew that Ichiryuu was going to die. It's just that I was expecting 3 to 4 more chapters of the fight before he died. But that being said, the chapter itself is, in my personal opinion, impactful on a lot of levels. And to me personally, you may not see things this way. For you, it may have been just another casual read. But for me, because I am, and I'm not trying to brag here, but to me, that's what it is. I am invested heavily in Toriko. I love this shit. I love this shit. I've said before, I said again, this is my favorite ongoing shonen right now. Toriko. And for me also, what I did was that before I got to this chapter, someone told me, I think the chapter would be a lot more impactful if you reread the flashback and then read the chapter. Because when I saw the title of the chapter, I knew that Ichiryuu's gonna die because it said a sad end. So by the term end, I'm like, okay, fine. So yeah, he's gonna die. That's very obvious. But someone said, for them, rereading the flashback and then reading the chapter was more impactful than just reading the chapter by itself, and that's what I did. I reread the reread the flashback within the flashback, and then I got to the chapter. And then when you look at it from that standpoint, the flashback itself is build up. The flashback, all those chapters, is build up for this one chapter, this 19 pages. And this, to me, I think was phenomenal. I think it was phenomenal. And yes, it was sad. Especially when it came to that end part where Ichiryuu is on the ground. He has this, he has holes all over his body. He has this massive hole through his abdominal area. And then his final words to his little brother, Midora, are, you got strong. You really did get strong. But I would have liked to have one more hunt with my brothers and sit around the dining table. Tears. The tears. And then Midora, farewell. Punch. Ichiryuu, dead. That, to me, I thought was really sad. Furthermore, when I backpedal, at the beginning of the chapter, and this is what I'm talking about when I say impactful on so many levels. Midora speaks about how he is a slave to his own appetite. And before he actually states those words, he says to Ichiryuu, no matter what pain, no matter what sorrow, one must eat. One must chew and one must swallow. And he said this because when you backpedal again in the chapter, the first few panels, he states how his heart was like a t-shirt that's never been ironed. It was crumpled. It was crushed. And the only way he could satiate that anguish was by eating. Now, when you look at the flashback, what is so sad, so twisted, and yet at the same time so ironic, is noticing how during this time of chaos, Midora, and I said before in last chapter review that I did, Midora, amongst this perpetual war that the human world was in, he was happy because he had a family. Initially, not so, but when he did first meet Froze, his would-be savior, his quote-unquote mother, he was happy because then he had his quote-unquote father, Acacia. Then he had his brothers, Jiro and Ichiryuu. And while the war was, in a sense, enveloped in darkness, there was this hope, this light, this shining light. And that was with him and his family. And the way you see in the flashback, I noticed this for the first time when I reread it. The way their house is located, they're not located in this big city. They're not in this urban environment, but their house is like a small shack in the middle of this mountainside, as if like they themselves are detached from this darkness, as if they themselves are detached from the rest of the world. And ironically, the person who brung him in, Midora, is the cause of her death, his mother. And while he plummets, while he dives, or while he spirals into this darkness, because of so many failed attempts to revive him from the dead, the world around him ironically brightens up. Because everyone had consumed the god. Because, well, not everyone, but like the major leaders had. Because the wars had stopped. And that's why in this chapter he stated that he was the shadow, he was the dark stain amongst the dazzling gourmet age. And to me, that is highlighted in this chapter. But going back to what I was saying before about that statement, we see how when he was trying to pour over the cure water over her grave, he was still hungry. When he fought against Ichiryuu and he lost and he started to cry, he was still hungry. And in this sense, he wasn't hungry for food, but more so he was hungry for a family. He was hungry because that crunched heart that he had would not unveil itself. It wouldn't flatten. And it was pain that had lasted for centuries, because mind you, they're very old. So that to me I thought was fantastic. But not only that, but when you take a look at what he says from a more realistic standpoint, from a real world standpoint, once again, he states that no matter what pain, no matter what sadness, one must always eat. One must always chew and swallow. That's some true stuff right there. Because if you were to take away, just imagine, you take away status, you take away upbringing, you take away one's environment, you take away one's mindset, one's beliefs, one's ideology. You take away one's education. You take away all the things that we find important today, in today's economy, in today's world, in today's society. And you look at us from simply the human perspective, the mammalian perspective. The fundamentals still reside. No matter who you are in life, no matter what you've seen or what you've done, whether you have a terminal illness, whether you are in perfect health, whether you are rich or poor, whether you're a mass murderer or a saint, one must eat. Because to eat is to live. And that is very impactful. You take away the race, you take away body shape, you take away all the things that we seem to find important today, and you realize just how similar we all are. We're all human. We're all mammals. And reading what Midora said reminded me of this simple fact. It makes you think that maybe the things that you find so important today may not be that important later on, but no matter how old you are, no matter what changes in your life, you're still gonna have to eat. You're still gonna have to drink. You still need oxygen. Those don't change. The basic fundamental needs of every human being on the planet. All 7+ billion of them. Of us. I mean, we are separated by so many things. Culture, race, ideology. But at the end of the day, we're so freaking similar. It is not even funny. It makes these self-imposed separations so comical. It makes them so comical. And just by that simple quote that Midora stated, it reminded me of all these things. It reinforced all these things in my mind. Alright, so on to I mean, I'm pretty sure you can already guess what rating I'm giving this chapter. I mean, you can already guess. There's one negative, but fuck the negative. You already can guess where I'm going with this. Let me focus on the combat prowess, right? So let's look on the more, let's focus more on the actual chapter itself here and not try to, because I've already deviated too much onto the real world stuff. But if you learn something from that, because I have, if you do learn something from that, hopefully it was in a positive way, not a negative way. Because that's something that I think we should all take into account. That we all are human, despite what you may think or believe. So, when it came to the actual combat prowess here, first of all, this motherfucker did Minority World to heal all his wounds. I'm like, what? No. I'm sitting here, I'm like, what? And it's like, in that instant, he activated Minority World. And then he just chiseled all the holes he had in his body pre-hand. His shirt rips off for some odd reason. And then it's like he's muscles, pecs, biceps, triceps, 16-pack going on. You're like, bro, what? The Minority World. But apparently, and here's where we dive deeper into Midora's combat scheme. He has these things, and they're actually real. They're called mirror neurons or memory neurons, something like that. Okay? And the mirror neurons, what they did is that they allowed him. Well, actually, when I backpedal, let me backpedal, right? Because actually, I'm forgetting something here. Before he does the whole mirror neuron thing, what happens basically is that, so Ichiryuu has fully recovered. The moment this thing came out of, because the gourmet cells, after he explains how he was this darkness, this stain amongst the gourmet age, his gourmet cells come out of his body, similar to what happened to Toriko against Starshin. And it's like this, like, devil, like this bird devil. It looks really strange. But it has like the actual scars across its eyes. And at that point in time, Midora activates Minority World. All of his wounds heal. But then what happens is that apparently Midora wasn't trying. Or he wasn't going all out. He wasn't going 100%. And he starts to bombard Ichiryuu with the hungry space. And all these holes that he had before that were recovered, that were healed over, now start coming back. He starts getting more holes blasted into him by Ichiryuu, by Midora. And Ichiryuu, he's like, but my minority world's activated. How's it possible? So he's trying, so the minority within his body, Ichiryuu, become the majority. And now his body is trying to recover. But the rate at which he's being attacked is too great for his body to actually recover. And what happens is that apparently, and this ties into the whole memory neuron thing, Midora was able to suppress the minorities within his own body. Therefore, he was able to negate the effects of the minority world. Because the initial majority were suppressing the minority that were trying to become the majority. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, what the f? And then Ichiryuu's like, fuck it. Fuck defense, offense, go, strike. And then he does this thing where it's like a Kamehameha. And it's basically called the all-meal king-eating chopsticks, alright? The Oshoku Bashi. And then it's like a, and then he fires a beam. Midora takes that attack. And he's like, shame. Shame. Because you're too old. You more, and he's hinting that you're more powerful back in the day than you are now. Which is actually a very common concept that I see a lot as of late. Especially in the shonen that I read. Because in the case of One Piece, it was Whitebeard. In the case of Bleach, it was Yamamoto Genryusai. And in this case, apparently, even though Ichiryuu is like hundreds of years plus old, even though he's had gourmet cells, apparently he still cannot combat the effects of time. Time is forever. Well, actually, then again, guys like L live forever because their gourmet cells will always regenerate with no energy loss. But whatever. The thing about it is that in Ichiryuu's case, even though they've lived for hundreds of years, he's lived for hundreds of years. Still, time is absolute. And they're not immortal. So, that was obviously true to begin with because they got older. I mean, had they been immortal by simply eating gourmet food, by simply eating, by simply eating gourmet food, then they would have stayed young. But they got older. Therefore, time obviously had an effect. But my assumption was that because they're always eating all this high-quality food, their powers would never dwindle. They would still be as strong as they were today and than they were back in the day. But apparently not. So that actually hints, frighteningly, oh, this is frightening, that actually hints that Jiro was stronger back in the day than he is now. And Jiro, Grand Non-King, planet. So, oh God, is Jiro actually stronger back in the day than he? Oh no! Wow! All right, but basically, what happens is that this is where the memory neurons come into full effect, and I have the page saved right here because this is fascinating. And this is actually like a real thing here. I'm reading the entire thing for you, okay? After this attack fails, right? The all-eating king chopsticks, right? Midora merges within the darkness. I'm sitting here, I'm like, what? He merges within the darkness. He becomes one with the darkness. And then this is what happens right here. Narration from Michitoshi. Mirror neurons, also known as mimicry cells. They are nerve cells located within the brain. It is said that because of these mirror neurons, that people are able to do such things as imitate others' actions in order to learn skills and empathize with others. And we continue. Midora's mirror neurons are miraculously talented. Of course, everything in Toriko is miraculously talented. And he mastered them so well that he can even control these he can even control the minorities in such a short period of time. Because he's seen Ichiryuu control his minorities. Therefore, he, Midora, was able to control and suppress his minorities because of the mimicry cells within, well, the mimicry neurons within his brain, which are made up of the initial majority. And we continue. And this mimicking talent allows his body to change colors like a chameleon. He can completely blend in with the scenery around him. Just like back when he was searching for Akashia's full course, he slipped perfectly into darkness. Whoa! It's like a slower version of the Sharingan, but the end result is like a billion times better. Seriously. My God, darkness, yeah. And just merge and disappear. Ichiryuu couldn't track him. Listen, if Ichiryuu can't track you, you know you've merged well. Ichiryuu couldn't track Midora. And then he turns around because he sent something last second too late. Hole right through his abdomen. Falls down. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, dude, this is some other level shit right now, man. And then at the end of the chapter, after all the talking, after all the tears, because we actually find out that the reason why he didn't kill Ichiryuu was because, well, the reason why Ichiryuu didn't kill Midora was because at the end, during their fight at the end, in the past, Midora started to cry at the end because he was still hungry. He was hungry, and then that's what he explains how you're hungry because, well, he doesn't say it to him directly, but he has an internal monologue, and he says you're hungry because you don't have a family, and that's what you desperately want. You're not hungry for food. You're hungry for a family. And then Midora, I mean, whoa, wrong level. Midora. Because if Midora was there, she'll be over. She would have been over with Naruto. Oh, she would have been like fucking Minority. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Hungry Space. Shinju. Gone. Just completely erased from the planet. It would have been eaten. Either way. What happens is that he speaks about how the devil's roar will turn to meteors and sprinkle over the human world like a spice. And before that, I'm gonna kill you. Farewell, big brother. Punches him. And then Midora dies. And then what happens is that, oh no, Ichiryuu dies. And then Midora has his final roar. The gourmet cells behind him, the demon behind him, yells, and it's like a wave of energy spews out. And then that's the meteor spice. So here's the thing, alright? Meteor spice. It was him. It was all him. I thought the meteor spice was caused by Ichiryuu, because that was the hint. But apparently not. Apparently Midora was the one who led to meteor spice. Midora was the reason. But now I'm thinking, so is there like a certain time frame or a certain activation sequence that the supposed devil behind Midora needs in order to in order to spew meteor spice? I don't know. But he does it at the end after Ichiryuu's dead. I mean, maybe because there's some tie to Ichiryuu that causes meteor spice to like come out of the devil inside Midora. So maybe like once Ichiryuu dies, something unlocks inside Midora, and then he can spew meteor spice out. I have no idea. So like there's no real explanation for meteor spice. But there will be in the future, or maybe in the next chapter. I don't know. Either way, here's the thing. Meteor spice is caused by Midora. Does that mean that Midora, via gourmet cells, is able to wipe out an area the size of the human world? Toriko human world, which is bigger than our human world. Does that mean that this dude, Midora, has just gone planetary? I don't know. We have to see the end result of the meteor spice. But goddamn, this is multi-continental. This is easy multi-continental. Oh, Lord have mercy. Toriko top tiers are disgusting. They are filthy. Their powers are beyond that of Super Saiyan 2. Dude, listen, oh. And here's the scary part. Midora hasn't eaten Akashia's full course, which means that he cannot become one with the gourmet cells. If he could eat Akashi's full course, he'd be even more powerful than he is now. They on some other level shit right now. They on some other level shit. Good lord. So, that being said, I think I'm done. I'm done. This review is 25 minutes long, but I'm done. King of Lightning. Oh, dude, this is... Oh my god. The chapter rating overall. Y'all already know. Stop fucking with me. Y'all already know. It gets the highest possible rating. Yo, of course it does. So, be sure to, of course, rate, comment, and subscribe as always. And now I'm signing out. Now I'm just motivated. Carrot, they're good for you. Peace. Fuck. Have a nice day.